This is section 7.3, polynomials. Please take notes. So we're going to start by what a polynomial is. It's just a term or the sum or difference of more than two terms. So for example, x is a polynomial. It's one term. Another example would be x squared plus 6x. Here's two terms, and it's the sum of the two terms, so that's a polynomial. X to the third minus 2x squared plus 6 is an example of a polynomial. There are three terms, and it includes the sum and the difference of those terms. An example that is not a polynomial would be 2 over x. This is not a polynomial because the variable cannot be in the denominator. It's allowed to be in the numerator though, so you could have x over 2. That's okay, but x is not allowed in the denominator for it to be considered a polynomial. Or you could have 2x plus 6 over 7. That's another example of a polynomial. And the way that we classify or name the polynomials is by their degree and by the number of terms that they have. So we're going to start just by classifying the polynomials by their degree. So to classify by the degree, you need to look for the largest degree in the polynomial. And the degree always goes, it's the exponent of the variable. So for example, in A here, there is no x, or there is no variable. So for A, the degree would just be 0. Or it could be called a constant. This is really, if you had an x, it would be 4x to the 0 power. So the variable is raised to 0, so the degree is 0. For B, 3x plus 1, this would be a first degree because the exponent on the variable is a 1. So that's a first degree, or we call that linear. And on a graph, it would look like this, linear, straight line. C, again you need to look at the exponent on the variable. This exponent is 2, so it's a second degree. Or it's called a quadratic. A quadratic looks like this type, or like this on a graph. D, this would be a third degree polynomial because the largest degree in your polynomial is 3. The 3 is with this x, and this x is only raised to the first power. So this has a degree of 3, this has a degree of 1, this has a degree of 0. So the largest degree in your polynomial is 3. So it would be a third degree polynomial, or a cubic. And a cubic looks like this on a graph. Last, for E, this polynomial, because it's raised to the 4th degree, would be called a 4th degree polynomial. Anything higher than 3, they don't have specific names anymore. So this one would just be called a 4th degree. You could have a 5th degree or 6th degree, etc. So the degree here, for example, 1, the exponent on the variable is 1, so this is a first degree, or it would be called a linear polynomial. For number 2, the highest degree in this term is 2, but the highest degree in this term, the highest degree here would be, we have a 3 and a 2, so the degree of this term total would be 3 plus 2 is 5. So this is a second degree, this is a 5th degree, so the entire polynomial would just be called a 5th degree polynomial. And in example number 3, 15xy, so these are to the first power. So the degree of this term would be 2. And the degree of this term, y is raised to the third power. So that degree is 3, and the highest would be a 3. So this would be a third degree or a cubic polynomial. Next, we're going to talk about classifying the polynomials by the number of terms that they have. So any polynomials that have one term, no plus or minuses in that polynomial, if there's just one, it's called a monomial. And mono actually means one. For B, we have 2 terms. 2 terms is called a binomial. And the way I remember a binomial is like a bicycle. A bicycle has 2 wheels. And bi actually means 2. So there are 2 terms. For C, we have 1, 2, 3 terms. So for 3 terms, it's called a trinomial. And the way to remember that is tri means 3, and I remember a tricycle. A tricycle actually has 3 wheels. So tricycle, trinomial. Anything more than 3, so 4, 5, 6, 7, though anything with more than 3 terms is called a polynomial, meaning a many. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is a polynomial. So let's see, for example 1. We have 1, 2, 3 terms. So this is a trinomial. For example 2, first you need to combine like terms and then we'll name it. So when you combine like terms, I see that we have an x and another x. So x plus x is actually 2x and then plus 5. So initially this looks like 1, 2, 3. It looks like a trinomial. However, it's not. It's actually 1, 2, and it's a binomial because it has only 2 terms. In our example 3, again, this one is kind of hidden. We have 1x squared, and then we have 3 more x squareds, so we have 4 x squares altogether. So initially it looks like a binomial, however it's not. This is a monomial because it only has 1 term. So you have to remember to combine any like terms first and then name it. So polynomials should always be written where your variable, the exponent, is the highest to the lowest. This is also called descending order. So if you think like of a mountain and you're on the top, if you go down, you're descending. So for example 1, we have 5 minus 2x. So the degree on 5 is 0. The degree on 2x is 1. Because 1 is bigger than 0, this negative 2x should go first. Keep in mind, whatever charge the 2x is needs to follow. So because it's a negative, you need to bring the negative out front when you reorder it. So this should be negative 2x, and that's a positive 5, so plus 5. For example 2, negative 9x has a degree of 1, plus 6 has a degree of 0, minus 3x squared, the degree is 2, and plus x to the third, this degree is 3. So descending, we want the biggest first, and then it needs to go in order from largest degree to smallest degree. So our x to the third should go first. minus 3x squared should go second. And because 1 is bigger than 0, our minus 9x needs to go third. And then last, we have our plus 6 because that has the smallest degree. So our plus 6 goes last. And for example 3, let's start again by writing down our degrees. We have a degree of 4. 3x to the 4th is the 4th degree. Minus 5, that has a degree of 0. And our plus 4x cubed, that would be a degree of 3. So in order from biggest to smallest, our 3x to the 4th goes first because the 4 is the biggest. Our 4x to the 3rd should go second. Notice it's a plus, so you need to keep your charge. And last would come your minus 5, which has just a degree of 0. Sometimes you might be asked to put the polynomials in ascending order. Ascending order is just the opposite. So this is descending order. Ascending order goes backwards. So ascending, this is just an example. Ascending order would be your smallest, which is minus 5 plus 4x cubed, and then plus 3x to the 4th. This is ascending order. However, usually we write it in descending order. So let's get back to naming the polynomials. So we've learned how to name them by degree, and we've learned how to name them by the number of terms. So we need to put those two things together to name the polynomial completely. So for example 1, this is a, let's see, the degree, here's a degree of 1, and this has a degree of 0. So our highest degree is 1, meaning it's a first degree or linear. And how many terms does it have? We have 1 term, 2 terms. So it's a binomial. So this would be called a linear binomial or a first degree binomial. For example 2, let's write our degrees down first. So this has 3rd degree, 2nd degree, 1st degree, and 0 degree. So this would be a, because 3 is the biggest, it's a 3rd degree polynomial. And because it has, let's see, how many terms does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We call anything with 4 or more a polynomial. It doesn't have a special name. Example 3, this degree is 4, this degree is 3, and this degree, if there's no variable, it's just 0. So we pick the highest, which is 4. So it's a 4th degree. And how many terms do we have? We have 1, 2, 3 terms. So remember, trinomial means 3 terms, like tricycle. It means 3. Let's look here for example 4. How many degrees are x, y? Well, if you put a 1 for x and a 1 for y, the total for this term would be 2. It's a 2 degree here. Your z has just a 1 degree, and your 4 is 0. So your highest degree is 2. So this would be called a 2nd degree. And next you need to look at how many terms you have. We have 1, 2, 3 terms. So this would be a 2nd degree trinomial. Or our special name for 2nd degree is quadratic trinomial. And last, 9x squared minus 4x squared. First you have to combine like terms, so if I have 9x squareds and I take away 4 of them, I'm left with only 5x squareds. So my degree here would be 2. That's the highest degree. So it's a second degree. And how many terms do I have? Let's see, I've just got 1. So this is a monomial. So the name of this polynomial would just be a second degree monomial, or you could call it a quadratic monomial. And that's all for this section of notes. Next, we're going to be doing adding and subtracting these polynomials.